Hi, and thanks for watching. This is a full review of the Philips Norelco QT4050 vacuum beard trimmer brought to you by electricshaverguide.com. I'm Tyler from electricshaverguide.com, and here's what we're going to cover in this review. We'll see what you get inside the box, quickly cover charging and cleaning the trimmer, check out how it performs, and then discuss some final thoughts. So we are looking at the QT4050. There is a newer model, the QT4070, but that seems to get quite a few negative reviews concerning a design flaw in the trimming comb. So we are looking at the QT4050. It comes with electrical cord, trimmer itself, a cleaning brush. You can operate it with the cord. Charging takes about 8 hours for the initial charge, and it will light up orange when it needs a recharge, and it will glow green once it's fully charged. The main selling point on this trimmer is, of course, the vacuum feature. So the trimmer does suck up the hair trimmings into a vacuum chamber, which really prevents a mess on your countertop. It is not perfect, but it certainly does help. To change the settings of the length of the trimmer, you actually turn a center dial, and you're going to want to use 2 fingers to do this, and it ranges from 1 millimeter up to 18 millimeters. So there are 18 different settings. You can slide off the top to get the lowest setting, which is good for completely removing a beard. You're always going to want to just line everything up perfectly when you slide that back on. So that setting and that feature actually works well. It does stick with the setting that you're using. It doesn't jump around. One design feature that I'm not crazy about is the trimmer on the shortest length. So you can see here that the trimming blade doesn't really protrude much from the actual trimmer there. So when you do trimming down is not really effective. You have to always kind of trim up, and it works well, but if you want to define a cheek line or your neckline, it's a little difficult, and you just kind of don't have that option to shave down and really define a line. When you do trim your beard, the stubble does get stored into the vacuum chamber, and you can gently open the plastic door there, and you can shake away any stubble into the sink or into a bin. You can actually use the cleaning brush as well to really brush it out of the corners. It's always best to really be careful and gentle with that door, and even when you're attaching and taking off the trimming comb, you're going to want to use 2 hands and really line everything up. Like I said, the vacuum chamber isn't perfect, but it certainly does collect most of the stubble, and it does help reduce mess on your sink. Right away, you can see that I'm actually holding the trimmer the wrong way, so I do have to flip it over and shave up, and at first it's a little unnatural. It seems backwards, but once I got used to it, I thought the trimmer did a fine job. It does a really good job at completely removing a beard, and you can see here I'm trying to shape and straighten out my neckline, and just going slowly. It works fine, and eventually I do get a nice neckline. With a lot of other beard trimmers, I'd have a lot of that stubble all over my shirt, or at least all over the sink. So the vacuum feature, I thought, did a pretty good job. It's not perfect, but it does work well. As I mentioned, one area where I thought the trimmer didn't do a really good job was at defining the cheek line. Because the blades don't really protrude enough, it's kind of hard to see and really get a nice sharp edge on a cheek line. If we quickly just take a look at a basic wall beard trimmer, here you can see the blades protrude much more, and actually defining a neckline or a cheek line is a lot easier, and it's much more effective. So if you do use the vacuum trimmer, you might just want to have a razor blade on hand to really get that perfect line. But for general outlines, I thought it did an okay job. So if you're shaving up towards facial hair, I think it works quite well. But if you have to get into those tight to reach areas, it's a little more difficult, just because, as we mentioned, it doesn't have that protruding blade. For basic beard trimming, so if you just want to trim the length of your beard or goatee, I thought it did a pretty good job. Here I'm trimming on the lowest setting. I am trimming a little faster and pressing in a little bit. If you do have it on maybe setting 2, 3, or 4, where your beard length is a little bit longer, you might want to just slow it down a little bit and just make sure that you're kind of maintaining a consistent pressure. But overall, I think the settings work quite well. They don't jump around, and if you're careful and you take your time, you certainly can get a pretty consistent beard length. Unless you remove the trimming comb, my mustache length here is really as short as you're going to get with the vacuum trimmer. I think for most people that's fine, but just to compare, this is the Remington MB200 on the lowest setting, and you can see it is a bit shorter. You do get more of that stubble look. So if you do want that with the vacuum trimmer, you will have to remove the trimming comb. And then here you can see I'm trimming off my mustache and really reducing it to the lowest length. Now, what you might find is that there is just a bit of a gap between how short this is and then setting one with the trimming comb. This is really a minor issue, but it is something that I noticed. So here are some final thoughts on the QT4050 vacuum beard trimmer. First off, the vacuum feature is okay. It doesn't collect every single trimming, but it does collect most. So if an easy cleanup is one of the main features you want in a trimmer, it might be something to consider. I found that as a basic trimmer, it worked quite well. So if you just want to remove a beard, perhaps you've let it grow out over the weekend or a holiday, and you want to just reduce the mess you make, I think you'll be happy with it. Even if you want to maintain a beard, I thought the trimming comb did a good job at staying on the proper length setting. As long as you don't rush, you should be able to maintain a good beard length. Keep in mind, in order to get a perfect outline, you will need to keep a razor blade or maybe some other trimmer on hand. I thought it came up short in the styling department. There are better options available if you want to maintain any type of goatee. I found using the trimmer without the trimming comb, so when it's on the lowest setting, was difficult in certain areas. The trimmer blades don't protrude enough, mainly because they have to be behind the vacuum chamber. So for creating a straight line, it's a little difficult. You need to shave upwards, and your view can be impacted in certain areas. For just totally removing a beard, it's fine, but if you need to style anything, it's not great. Also, I did mention earlier that this wasn't a big factor, but there is a little jump from the lowest setting with the trimming comb attached and just the trimmer without the comb. For people who want to style facial hair, you might be disappointed with this gap in the length settings. Again, it's not a huge issue, but I did notice it. At the end of the day, you need to figure out what you really need your trimmer for. I personally would put more importance on how the actual trimmer performs rather than on the cleanup feature. So you have to figure out what your goals are. If a trimmer can't style my goatee very well, but it doesn't make a mess, well, that's not going to really cut it for me. However, if you're looking just to remove a beard or maintain a certain length all around, and you want to avoid all the clippings over the sink, well, this vacuum trimmer is probably a good match for you. I would say that's who the trimmer is really designed for. Those that want to easily remove a beard with less mess or just maintain a basic beard length. But if you're after anything more, you need to look somewhere else. If you are interested in this particular model, you can find a sales price through the link below. Thanks a lot for watching. You can visit electricshaverguide.com for more reviews on electric shavers and trimmers, as well as some comparison reviews. And if you are looking for that trimmer where you can style and maintain a goatee, I would recommend you check out the Braun Cruiser 6-Face review. You can click the screen now to watch that. If you did find this useful, you can subscribe through the button on the screen, and you can visit the Facebook page as well. Like always, whatever shaver or trimmer you use, I hope you get good results.